That's why the city is named Ba Sing Se. It's the impenetrable city. They don't call it Na Sing Se. That means penetrable city.
Impenetrable prisons.
Pohai stronghold is impenetrable.
The wall is impenetrable and heavily guarded. The surrounding cliffs are hundreds of feet high. The city is surrounded by impassable barriers on 3 sides.
I want to talk about repetition in dialogue, which almost never happens, but in a fantasy series where the creators invest a lot trying to reel you in with the graphics, it's easy to get distracted. And having a character say the same thing over and over again, whether verbatim or slightly changed, is going to raise eyebrows. So let's look at what I'm talking about.
Ang, you may be more advanced than the others. There's much you have to learn. Ang is powerful, but there's much he still needs to learn.
As a ghostwriter, hell, as an amateur writer or even a beginner, the correct way to approach the writing process is to firstly write it. Secondly, and this is a very important point, you leave it alone to exist. And finally, you revisit it with fresh, dare I say, more objective eyes. And unless there's a good reason for you to make an exception to this rule, you need to delete all repetitions. So only after you've learned and mastered enforcing these rules can you then confidently go on to break them. And that too, under only exceptional circumstances, and not because you think a character saying the same thing is going to drive the point home harder or sound more profound. I mean, I get it. When you're writing a manuscript or a screenplay, and there are a few important points that carry from the beginning of your story right through to the end, writers are naturally inclined to repeat said point at least 3 or 4 times within their story, not just to emphasize it, but also remind the reader just in case they've forgotten. This is a bad idea, and it shows up prominently in every writer's first draft. And I'm going to repeat it, the first draft. And what it should do is alert or signal you, the writer, that, hey, this is an important point and I need to properly address it. And when it's all said and done, these repetitions never pass the first, second, and especially not the final edit. This rule on dialogue repetition exists for a good reason, and that's because if you underestimate or insult your audience's intelligence, they're gonna lose interest out of pure frustration. And I've said out loud a few times while reading something, like, why are you telling me this again? Why you're telling me this again? Because it's related to something that's about to come up. And what this does, really the only thing it achieves, is it reduces the dramatic tension that you've worked so hard to build in your script. And authors end up releasing all this pressure just before a big reveal. So the truth is that when you're writing a manuscript or a screenplay where every word is judged for its impact and punch, all you're doing by repeating a particular point is wasting valuable real estate. That's either screen time that's being paid for in the millions or words on the page forged from a recently cut tree. You have to give it the respect it's owed. A general remedy to elevate your writing, specifically when it comes to repetitions of either dialogue or narration, is to firstly identify these repetitions and then figure out how you can rewrite it just one time so that it's completely and properly addressed. Then you give a long, hard think about where in your story it slots in so that there's zero need to bring it up in the same way anywhere else in your story. Of course you can reference the point, and of course you can allude to it. There can and should be repercussions from it, but you won't need to repeat it in that way ever again. And in the next episode, the next video that I'm going to do, I'll be showing you how to remedy the situation with Monk Gyatso and Aang by firstly doing a very quick analysis of Aang and Monk Gyatso's relationship before we decide finally where we're going to put this all-important line.